So let's look at some of the features that I spotted in this extract from my diary. So I spotted, first of all, I worked my way down and I found the date. So I found the date because I know that it's in my right-hand corner at the top of my diary, or it could be in my first few sentences. But because I saw the date here, I could easily highlight the date in red. And I know there's not going to be another date, so then I worked through my first person pronouns. So I started reading, and I'm looking for my pronouns such as I, my, our, we. So I'm starting to read, and I'm scrolling, I'm skim reading it very slowly, and I can see here I've got a first person pronoun, I. That tells me it's written in the first person. But I'm going to keep reading because I can't just have one example. I need to have lots of examples so I can prove that it's written in the first person. So I'm going to keep reading and I can spot here another I. And I'm going to keep reading. This time I spotted the first person pronoun, my. And I'm still going to keep reading, and as I kept reading, I saw three more in green, which I've highlighted. Now, year 4, it's really important that even if you just get one first person pronoun, that you keep reading, because there might be more in there. Because we need to prove that it's written in the first person. And I have, because now I have highlighted 6 different examples of my first person pronouns. And I'm happy with that, so I'm going to move on to my past tense verbs. Remembering that my past tense verbs are doing words, they are actions. They can end in the suffix ed, but they also might not. And you can see here I've got lots and lots of past tense verbs highlighted in purple here. And I began reading again, and I'm thinking, started is a verb. If you start something, it's an action. And because it's got my ed suffix, it's past tense. So I highlighted that one. And then I saw that changed. If you change something, you are doing something. It's also an action. That's my ed verb as well. And that is past tense. And finally, my ed verb here, entered, my past tense verb entered, that's a doing word. Now, if you know something in your mind, then you are doing something. So that's a verb too. But my past tense verb for that word know would be knew. So I can highlight that too. I've also spotted here my past tense verb was, because that is a verb too. My which was nowhere to be seen. And then I also spotted began, noticed another past tense verb with ed on the end, and were. So those are all my past tense verbs. Again, I've looked through the whole text because I want to be sure that this text is written in the past tense. So I'm going to make sure that I look at it and look at it all, scan the text, find the verbs. Now, my diary does have an introduction, but I didn't want to highlight all of it. So what I would do if I were you is I would spot my introduction. And my introduction are my first 2 lines here. So it's saying when, yesterday. What happened? I knew something was wrong. Where was I? I was in the dark, dirty kitchen. So I could have put brackets just either side of here in my purple pen to make sure that I've highlighted to my reader that I know that this is my introduction. When I'm happy I've identified that, I can then start to think about this ambitious vocabulary, personal feelings and emotions. So I can start to read it and think, is there any ambitious vocabulary? Not really. I can see here an expanded noun phrase. The dark, dirty kitchen. That's ambitious vocabulary. Not only is that, my 2 words dark and dirty, what are they? They're alliteration. Fantastic. 2 words started with the same letter. I knew something was wrong. That's an opinion, an emotion. I can continue reading here and I can see my food was not in the bowl. It's not very ambitious, not really an opinion. The door was wide open. It's not really an opinion either. I began to feel extremely anxious. Not just anxious, extremely anxious, using that adverb to modify that verb there. Not just anxious, extremely, not just really anxious, extremely anxious. That ambitious adverb there to really explain how I was feeling, as well as my personal emotions. And when I'm happy that I've got most of my ambitious vocabulary and personal emotions and feelings covered, I can start to think about my time conjunctions or my adverbials of time. I've given you some examples here if you forgot what they were, but I've got here yesterday. That's an adverbial of time. It tells me when something is happening. As soon as, that also tells me when something is happening. And soon after, telling me when something is happening. I've got no other time conjunctions and adverbials of time here, but I've identified them all. Another thing that we could identify in our diary are paragraphs. Can you see how many paragraphs I've made here? I've made 2 paragraphs. Can you see my subject here is my introduction, and my subject here is all the things that have gone missing. So my 2 subjects, 2 paragraphs. So that is something, if you want to impress me further, you can identify the different paragraphs too. So your task today is to do exactly what I have done previously. You've got exactly the same colours, exactly the same features, and you are going to be reading your diary, focusing on one feature at a time, highlighting or underlining in that colour where that feature is. Now remember to read every word. Think, is it a verb? Is it a past tense verb? It is, so I'm going to underline or I'm going to colour it in pink. First person pronoun. Is it first person pronoun? It is. It's I or my or we or our. Therefore, I can highlight that green. If you don't have these colours, that's fine. What you can do is you can choose some different colours, or if you don't have colours full stop, what you can do is you can annotate the text. So you can underline with a pencil or a pen, and then you can draw a line saying this, for example, first person pronouns with me. Okay? So there's always a way around it. If you don't have those colours, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry. Okay? Now, quick plenary today. Can you remember all the things that you need to include to write a fantastic diary entry? Pause the video and have a think. Did you remember that you need to include the date or the time, the first person, the past tense, an introduction to set the scene, personal emotions and feelings, as well as ambitious vocabulary, and time conjunctions and adverbials? You might also want to include as well paragraphs or even some direct speech, which I have advised Jasmine to do as well. So if we have some more space in our diary, we can include some inverted commas, but please don't worry about that for now, okay? Okay, that is your task for today, Year 4. Thank you for some fantastic listening, and I will see you in our next lesson. Bye!